Hi there, I'm Chantel Austin, and I'll be giving a speech today on Devil's Lake. My audience members are Greg, his daughter Olivia, John, Dottie, Marcia, and Dustin. Nestled between the bluffs in Baraboo, Wisconsin, lies 360 acres of crystal clear water called Devil's Lake. Wisconsin has over 8,000 lakes. This is not Wisconsin's largest lake, nor is it the deepest, but it is one of Wisconsin's most unique. It sticks out among the rest because it was made by a glacier. The outcome of this is a beautiful lake with a curious history that provides unending activities. This is Wisconsin's second established state park, and it leads all other state parks in attendance. I find myself at the lake 4 to 5 days a week. When questions arise in my mind, I make my way to the Nature Center, located at the north entrance of the park. There, I speak with Diane Pillsbury, who has a master's degree in natural resources and forestry, and also A.B. Scott, who has a PhD in environmental and social sciences. I'm excited to inform my audience about this remarkable place from gleaning knowledge that I have obtained over the years from timeless trips to the lake, from Kenneth Flang's book, A Lake Where Spirits Live, and from interviewing the Nature Center's naturalist. Devil's Lake is Wisconsin's most visited park because it draws people's attention to its beauty, history, and activity. For example, standing on top of a bluff, looking down at a body of water, or floating in the lake, looking up above at the clouds in the sky, as well as hiking on the multiple trail paths winding through the park, one can witness the massive beauty here. Many people come to the lake to view the spectacular scenery. In fact, many artists set up easels and paint away the day. Aristotle once said, "In all things of nature, there is something of the marvelous." What I find marvelous about Devil's Lake is its presence. In the heat of summer, the north and south beaches are filled with people. Bodies lie under the yellow sun and fill in every inch of the warm sand and open grass. The trails are crowded at all times of the day. This all changes with the turning of the seasons. In the fall, the bodies disappear, and one can walk around the entire lake without passing another soul. It is at this time that the lake feels like one's own home, offering comfort and protection. No one else is here but you. A.B. Scott states that varied conditions of soil, moisture, and topography furnish a natural environment for a range of flora rarely found in an area of similar size. There is a total of 880 different species of plants growing at Devil's Lake. Some plant species include honeysuckle, wild chevel, wild parsnip, and bloodroot. Ferns, witch hazel, and dogwood grow in the grottos at the south end of the park. On the north shore, hickories, walnuts, and oak trees shed their leaves in October and November, and on the south shore, maples and birches drop their leaves in early autumn. Nature's array of flora and fauna offer delights unsurpassed by any arboretum. If you're looking for animals, you will find that you can see gray squirrels, white-tailed deer, garter snakes, painted turtles, and red foxes. Hiking trails line the bluffs on the east and west sides, allowing visitors to view the lake from 200 feet above. Quartzite rock lines the bluffs and forms jagged ridges. The geology is utterly amazing. A glacier cut through Wisconsin's northland and came to a halt once it hit the quartzite ridges. From the bottom to the top, the ridge is 800 feet to the peak. The glacier started to melt, and it filled the hollow gorge, creating a lake. This lake does not have a drainage outlet, and this is known as a closed basin. Now that I've talked about the beauty, it is time to dive into the history. The first people residing in Devil's Lake were the Native Americans. Several Native Americans, known as the effigy mound builders, were active at Devil's Lake 1,000 years ago. Effigy mound builders cultivated the earth's soil to build mounds into shapes for ceremonial purposes. 3 mounds exist at Devil's Lake State Park. One mound resembles a lynx, one mound resembles a bear, and one mound resembles a bird. In 1857, Lewis J. Claude was the first non-Native American to reside at the lake. He named his property Eagle Crag. His house stood tall until 1953, when it was removed by the state. In 1870, a railroad was planned between Baraboo and Madison via Devil's Lake. The railroad brought people to the lake, and because of its success, it blossomed into what it is today. In 1866, the hotel era began. The next people to settle here would be hotel owners and operators. Hotels that were built at the lake were the Mini Walk-In House, the Cliff House, Kirkland, the Lakeview, and Messenger Shore. These hotels were very successful, and a man named Arthur Zimmer was very aware of this. He came up with a plan to build a resort atop of the bluff He envisioned summer houses with stone fireplaces that could be purchased for $500. The area promised tennis courts, a pavilion, and an 85-foot-tall observatory tower. The project started quickly, but ended when Arthur Zimmer died of typhoid fever. Some people believed that he died from water that was contaminated from his resort. Many believe that if the project had went through, the lake would not be the same today. It's possible that the whole lake could have turned into a resort and not a state park. So how did the lake turn into a state park? I knew very little of this history until I talked to Diane Pillsbury. She told me that in 1906, an 8-member local committee issued 2,000 copies of a book called An Appeal for the Preservation of Devil's Lake Region. This started a thought process in state legislators' minds. Then in 1909, John Nolan was asked to survey the land in Wisconsin to be used for potential state park sites. He recommended Devil's Lake as a state park. 2 years passed, money was granted, and Devil's Lake State Park was established. It has been 101 years since 1911, and the park has changed a great deal. When the state took over, the hotels and other forms of lodging were taken down. In the 1930s, as part of Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal, a parking lot, campground, and shower house was built at the south end of the lake. Now that I've talked about the history, it's time to talk about the unending activities. From season to season, the activities change in the park. The summer season is perfect for swimming, hiking, canoeing, fishing, wind sailing, rock climbing, picnics, and late-night stargazing. The winter season is built for snowshoeing, ice fishing, cross-country skiing, and sledding. Several shelters can be found at the north and south shores. Here people have graduation parties, birthday parties, and even weddings. Camping is one of the most talked about activities at the park. This outdoorsy exercise draws in many tourists. In fact, the camping website Reserve America named Devil's Lake State Park as the #1 campground for the year in 2010. Tourists rated it based on its cleanliness, management, and beauty. Several shower stations and an amphitheater accompany the campgrounds. Devil's Lake is home to many plant species and animals that inhabit the land. People come from all over to see this glacier-made lake. The beauty, history, and activities that this lake has to offer make it popular. Devil's Lake sees more than 1.5 million visitors a year. The next time that you're looking for someplace amazing to be, plan on visiting Devil's Lake State Park.